Well, hello and welcome to This Month in Hamilton, our March 2024 edition. We're taping this on Tuesday, March 26th, right at the end of the month. I want to start out by thanking, as always, WBCB 1490 AM, as well as our sponsors. Angelo Onifree in the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office, Capital Health System, Ford-Subaru, Saul Funeral Home, and Kessel Dermatology. Joining us today, we have Brandon and Shane, the presidents of the respective FMBA 84 and 284 here in Hamilton. They'll be talking about their experiences as Hamilton firefighters, what led them to become Hamilton firefighters, and some of the stuff they do and their members do each and every day to keep all of us safe. But also, for those interested, or maybe family members interested in becoming a firefighter one day. What does it take to become a firefighter? What's a recommended path to becoming a firefighter? From a very early age, as I can attest now with a 3-year-old, right, there's all sorts of books on firefighters, and our little ones learn early about firefighters, but then somewhere in the middle, we learn how to potentially become firefighters. So it's important that we get out that information so people who may be interested in it as a career and as a calling have the opportunity certainly to understand that there are some steps and procedures to become a firefighter, but we want to break down any barriers in getting them there and making sure they know the way to contributing back to our local community. So we'll be joined by Brandon and Shane a little later. But first off, what's going on this month in Hamilton? Earlier this month, we had our St. Patrick's Day Parade, and I want to really commend the St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee led by Chairman Wayne D'Angelo this year, taking over for past Chairman Vince McKelvey. Every year they seem to make the right call. The past few years, the parade always went off on the rain date. Obviously, this year there was a little bit of rain and cold and wind when it went off on the first scheduled date, and I know many people were complaining. I was saying it's a little bit of rain, it's a little bit of cold. Well, certainly they made the right call because this past Saturday there was no way to get anything in terms of a parade. So Luck of the Irish is certainly with our St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee, and really want to commend them for a job well done in putting on another fantastic parade. We'll be back joining them and partnering with them next year for another parade, and just keep our fingers crossed that they don't have to make any difficult decisions next year, that they get an easy decision in some nice weather. In terms of what else is going on this month in Hamilton, last Friday we had our job fair at Colonial Firehouse. Between pre-registered and registered on the day of, we had close to 1,000 potential applicants show up, and over 60 different organizations looking for either applicants or just to help those who may be without a job right now, or looking for a better job to help their personal finances. So a lot of nonprofit organizations as well. Really want to thank a bunch of organizations that were involved. Mercer County One Stop was involved, our Community and Economic Development Office, Hamilton Partnership, Hamilton Economic Development Advisory Commission, a lot of employees and volunteers who made the event a success, as well as many of our other township employees. We had our Public Works Department with the table, our Police Department with the table, our Fire Department with the table, as well as Health Department there, not only with the table, but also to provide any health screenings for people who were there as well. So really great community event. The only real complaint we heard is there wasn't enough parking, which means that demand was just too high. That can be good and bad, right? We want to make sure people are employed, but for those who may have just been looking for a better job for themselves and their family and their situation, it's certainly a service that we enjoy providing. We are taping this from the Golf Center, and there's a room in the Golf Center for training that I think the capacity is probably about 100 people or so standing at its most. And this is where the job fair used to be held. And if you've ever been in Colonial Firehouse, it's about 6-7 times what this room is, and so you can see how we've been able to grow it, but also what the need is of both businesses and our residents in terms of getting employees and getting a job. Coming up over the next month or so, obviously we have Easter this weekend, so the township will be closed for Good Friday. Not much in April in terms of events, but right then in the beginning of May, we've got our Azalea Fest at Sayin Gardens. But really what you'll start seeing in April is, and you're starting to see it probably already now, is the weather has warmed up a little bit, especially our public works crew out and about getting back to their normal activities. So in April, you'll start seeing road paving beginning around town. Come April 1st, we open the golf center again, the driving range and mini golf. We open the tennis center, so if you're an avid tennis or pickleball player, you have to have a badge and permit starting April 1st. I think they're about $25 for a Hamilton resident for the year, but given the number of courts there, it's just helps us defray some of those costs for maintenance and things like that of the courts. And we know last year we had over 600 people take out a pickleball badge, so it's a growing and thriving sport, and we're happy to be at the center of it all here in Mercer County with 18 courts in Veterans Park. But then right on the heels of that, we had a meeting yesterday with the Groveville Yardville Memorial Day Parade. So really excited to bring the Memorial Day parades back. We have our Armed Forces Day that we join with the Patriotic Committee in putting on in May as well. So April's that time where we really spend a lot of time doing cleanup around the town in anticipation of May's events and moving forward that way. In terms of other things going on around town, want to really commend everybody for the job they did this past Saturday. We had Hamilton experienced over 3 inches of rain, and knock wood, we had very little flooding in the township. We had our usual spots at the Siemens D. Laval plant on Nottingham Way, the back of the senior center, things like that. But in terms of unanticipated flooding, our public works team did a phenomenal job trying to clear some spaces, make sure stormwater drains were cleaned and free of debris that would have contributed to flooding. So it's always an adventure sometimes, and you never know what you're going to get. But in terms of some of the prep work, they were able to do a good job. If you start looking around town, you'll start at our around town signs, you'll start seeing advertisements for our Hamilton Township Public Library vendor sale. That's coming up soon. And we have a very exciting announcement in mid-April-ish. We're working with Congressman Kim's office right now, Senator Booker's office, on a grant for our public library. The public library building, I think, was opened in 1975, so coming up on its 50th anniversary right now. And just as anything that's 50 years old, it needs some TLC. If you've been in, we also have allergies and pollen that's starting as well. So if you hear me coughing a lot, I apologize for that. But the library definitely needs some TLC. It's got some broken windows or cracked windows. It has bathrooms that aren't even ADA compliant in the building, as it predates the ADA that way in terms of its design and starting construction. So we're hopeful to be able to announce that grant in mid-April, and really for you all to start seeing some big improvements with the library. We've also partnered with Altice. Altice is going to be upgrading the broadband service in the library for free. We know many people use it for research, for their own internet access. And so we wanted to make sure that the library had a top-notch service that way, and really thank Altice. They're going to be providing that free of charge for us. So a lot of good things going on in many different places around town. We're putting the final works on our budget for this year, and I will say, look, we've been able to hold the line the last 3 years on taxes, keeping it stable the last 3 years. But we've also had 18% inflation. So we're working and going over the final details now to make sure we're able to provide you the services that you come to expect and services that you need, but also doing it at a cost-efficient price and keeping taxes as low as possible. So we're putting the final details on that right now, and we hope to be able to introduce that next week, first week in April as we sit here right now, about a week from today. So more to come on that as we host this month in Hamilton next month. But right now we're going to take a short break. When we come back, again, we'll be joined by Brandon and Shane, presidents of FMBA 84 and 284, really to talk about, again, their experiences with fire, about the FMBA, about how people can get involved, and just what they do on a day-to-day basis to keep all of us safe. So we'll be back in just a moment and see you in a little bit.
Hi, this is Mercer County Prosecutor Angelo Honorfree, and I'm proud to help sponsor today's show and promote what's happening in our community. All residents of your hometown should stay involved and participate in community activities, whether it's volunteering to help make your town clean, or volunteering at the animal shelter, or helping at a local youth event. Staying involved in your community makes your hometown a great place to live. This is Mercer County Prosecutor Angelo Honorfree, and I hope you enjoyed today's show.
Kessel Dermatology in Hamilton Square is an award-winning dermatology practice led by Dr. Daniel Kessel, a board-certified dermatologist. He and his expert staff treat patients of all ages. They offer treatments of all types of skin, hair, and nail conditions, and annual skin cancer screenings, anti-aging treatments, ultraviolet A and B light treatments, skin tightening procedures, Botox, and other treatments that enhance your skin's overall health and appearance. Kessel Dermatology is open Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., Friday, 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. For appointments, call 609-890-2600. That's 609-890-2600. Or visit KesselDermatology.com. They're at 1700 Whitehorse, Hamilton Square Road. Kessel Dermatology. They're good. Hamilton Township in Mercer County is fortunate to have many fine businesses that serve our community. Saul Funeral Home is a fourth-generation family-owned business proud to support our local schools and community. Their compassionate and caring staff is there for you and your family. They'll bring the closure you deserve while also celebrating the life of your loved one. Visit their website at saulfuneralhomes.com. That's saulfuneralhomes.com. Saul Funeral Home at 3795 Nottingham Way, Hamilton Square.
Well, welcome back to This Month in Hamilton. Want to again start out by thanking our sponsors, Angelo Honorfree in the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office, Capital Health System, Ford-Subaru, Saul Funeral Home, and Kessel Dermatology. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having us.
I didn't pick up on the gray. I'm just picking up on this now while you guys are
I
sitting
called him
next.
this morning to ask him what to wear.
Yeah, what color?
So thanks for joining us. Last month on our show we had Chris and Steve, presidents of PBA and SOA 66, right? Just to, so many people appreciate the work of our first responders in town, but they really don't understand what it means to be part of the union or in the union or all the different things that it encompasses, as well as, as I talked about, kids grow up wanting to be maybe a police officer, wanting to be a firefighter. Then you go to school, then, you get involved with different sports and activities, and the next thing you know, you forget sometimes or then don't know how to enter in, especially for people who may not have parents who were involved. But just want to talk a little bit about your own experiences, and Shane, since you're on 284 and the captain will let rank go first that way, but just talk a little bit about your own experience and how you became a firefighter, or what kind of motivated you to become a firefighter as well.
Most people in the fire service are drawn here because of family. The fire service, it's always about the people who've come before us. My grandfather was a captain in the Trenton Fire Department. I grew up having birthday parties in Trenton, different Trenton firehouses. My brother is currently a battalion chief in Hamilton. So It was really the only path for me. It's all I knew. It's something that I've always wanted to do. I remember, dressing up as a fireman and going with my grandfather to work. But yeah, that's how I started. And I got involved in Hamilton at an early age. I took the test when I was 18 years old. The first year I was eligible, that the entry-level test came out.
Now, you talk about the test for those listening, right? What do you mean by the test?
So Hamilton Township is a civil service town. Every 3 years, the civil service will announce a test. Hamilton Township does a great job of putting it out. The Hamilton Township Professional Firefighters Facebook page and Instagram, we put out every test date so that people in our community can test. This year we had well over 300 people take the exam.
Wow.
Well, past the exam. I don't know how many took
Sure.
it, but so once that test came out, the first part is a written exam, and then now, it wasn't before when I took it. When I took it, it was the physical exam, and then you were ranked. Now it's the written exam, and then they rank you based on your score. If you pass that written exam and Mayor Martin calls you for a job, they send you for a physical exam, and that's climbing stairs and dragging a dummy, all different types of physical activity to make sure that you're fit enough to do the job. Once you pass that exam, you get hired by the Hamilton Fire Department. We're lucky enough to have 136 guys right now, men and women, who've gone through that same process.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, if you truly are interested in becoming a firefighter, keep an eye out on our Facebook page, on our Instagram, the Hamilton Township government page. I think the next test is in about a year and a half.
Yeah.
And fill out the application.
And so, Brandon, a little bit just then about your own experience.
Mine's kind of similar to Shane, is kind of the family values kind of thing. My dad was a fireman, my uncles are firemen, my cousins are firemen. And so just growing up around it, I was drawn to it, and it was something I always kind of wanted to do. And after high school, I volunteered for a little bit. And then took the civil service test that Shane was talking about, and I was able to get hired by Hamilton Fire District 3 in 2014, and that's where I kind of started my career.
Now, most people have heard that we've now consolidated, right? But obviously both of you were hired, as Brandon, you said it, from a district. Were the district civil service as well? Was it kind of the same?
It was the exact same, yeah.
Yeah.
Except when we took the exam then. When I took the exam, I came out in Fire District 4. We ended up getting hired. I came out number 11 on that test, and then, so I remember Fire District 5, I think I was 13. So you were ranked in every district a little bit different.
Gotcha.
But, now we're lucky enough to have one test and one result. So
And this way, the cream rises to the top kind of thing, right? The better you test, the better you're going to be doing on placement on the test. You talked a little bit about volunteering, right? I know nationally volunteering is starting to wane, right? And as Shane, you got 3. Brandon, you got 1 and 1 on the way, right? Life gets in the way of being able to volunteer, especially once you have to start providing for kids, right?
Yes.
Whether both financially or with your time, right? But there's still volunteer opportunities for people who are available as well. And just talk a little bit about kind of some of the volunteer stuff that's gone on in Hamilton.
So after we consolidated, the need for the volunteer firefighting part of it was already on the decline, and which is why we all got jobs. So now you can.
You had to make it up from somewhere, right? As
Right,
you lost
exactly.
volunteers, it didn't stop fires from happening
Correct.
or car accidents from happening and things like that, right?
Right. So now, if you do want to volunteer, there are ways to help. One, you can do the fire police program, and that's more or less you go out every time we have a fire or car accident. You go out there, direct traffic, and you can participate that way. I'm not 100% sure, but I do think that we still have volunteer fire companies in name within Hamilton, so more of a social organization that do good for others. Not so much in firefighting, but scholarship opportunities for local kids and stuff like that.
Even like mentors.
Yeah.
And some of the you've got Colonial, right? They still show up. Some of their volunteers still will show up
forgot about that.
at a fire scene to help in ancillary ways, right? They may not be going literally into the house with a hose, right? But there's all sorts of things that are needed at the scene that they can contribute to
Right.
as well.
So Colonial, they participate by bringing out what we call a special service. They fill our air bottles, they bring us water, and stuff like that at every fire scene. So they are still involved. Yeah.
And other communities still have primarily volunteer fire departments, right? I mean, it's such a big community intersection of 195, 295, train station. I mean, again, when you have all that, it makes it harder to rely on a volunteer when you have a mass emergency like that, right? But for people who still want to get their foot in the door and maybe see whether this is the route for them before they join, there's still other volunteer opportunities out in Mercer County as well.
Yeah, I mean, all of East Windsor is all volunteers. If you're interested, they between Hightstown and East Windsor, there's 3 volunteer fire companies. You can go out there; they'll train you. You can start to get an idea of what the fire service is. And if you have a Hamilton address, you take the test.
Now, talk about training, right? So, you don't go volunteer route, but you're interested in being a firefighter. You take the test. You do well, you interview well, you pass the physical fitness test, we hire you. What's the next step after that?
So just recently, we implemented a new hire orientation process.
But if you don't have if you haven't been to an academy or something like that, right? Do you go there first?
Right,
or?
right. You would go to the Mercer County Fire Academy, and that's about 3 months or so.
Okay. What are you learning? What are you doing there?
A little bit of everything, the basics, learning, a lot of book stuff, and then a lot of physical stuff, and then they have burn rooms where you get to actually kind of put it all together and stretch the hand lines and throw the ground ladders and see how it actually works. But there's a lot involved with it. You have to learn and read the books and study up, and then you still have to physically perform afterwards.
Yeah. So the Fire Academy itself puts on a basic, and I would call it a basic orientation of firefighting. You do learn how to stretch hand lines. You do learn how to cut roofs and search buildings and drag bodies. But it's when you get out of the Fire Academy that your career actually starts, and you start learning what people do on the street and what can make not only your job safer but the residents safer as well.
I refer to, we've all been to school, right? There's the book of what you learn, right? And then there's the practical of it as well. And so, and Brandon, I think you were alluding to this. We just started, again, as we're in year 4 now of consolidation, we're still learning and growing that way, but almost a mini internal academy that way too.
Correct.
Right? And the new firefighters get an opportunity to meet a lot of different firefighters, learn how it works, so to speak, on the street, right?
Yep. And how Hamilton does it.
And our new hires that we hired a couple of weeks ago are in week 3 of their orientation, and today they're going to the Mercer County Fire Academy to burn with the Hamilton Fire Department to learn our way.
Now you say to burn, they're not lighting the fire, right? or catch on fire or anything like that, but they actually have it set up where they can learn, they put on a real fire.
Yes.
Right.
In a controlled environment.
Sure. And then they get at least some sense of the chaos and commotion of rolling up to an actual live fire that way.
Right. Yep.
Which I imagine for any new firefighter that you never forget your first house fire or anything like that, right?
No, you do not.
But you guys talked about family before, right? Yeah, you had dads or grandfathers or all that, but once you're in, it's another family by extension, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of where our union plays a part in keeping that tradition alive. I mean, we do everything from, when you go to work, you eat breakfast together, you eat lunch together, you eat dinner together, and you do everything together for 24 hours. But when you leave the firehouse, you still take a piece of that with you. So we still do Santa every year, but we have breakfast with Santa. We do a lot of dinners and stuff to keep not only the men and women who belong to the Hamilton Fire Division, but our wives and our families together, because so much time is spent away from them. It's good to bring everybody together.
Sure. And bringing kids, as you said, to the firehouse, right? To see their parent or see their uncle or something like that, right?
And hopefully bring the next generation.
Yeah.
And sometimes it turns into be kind of like an extended family. Even for your kids, they get to see these people all the time, and it kind of turns into cousins or uncles, correct,
right?
Correct. Yeah. So that's kind of neat too. How it really is like your second family.
Spouses get to know each other and all of that as well,
Yeah,
right?
Christmas parties together and everything. So it's really cool. It's the camaraderie is awesome in this service.
And that's probably what attracts, especially for you guys, right? Growing up in that and seeing that, right?
Yeah, that camaraderie. Yep.
Even at a young age, you didn't consciously understand it, right? You still at a young age subconsciously saw it and
Right.
understood it, right?
Yep.
And how your dad or your uncles or your grandfather, right, were with their friends and smiling and laughing and having good times together that way.
Yep.
You talk about the history, though, and I call him affectionately my Uncle Gil, right? Just a little bit, pre-consolidation, we had 9 districts, but they were all different ages and things like that, too, right?
Yes. Yep. I forget who the oldest was. Maybe District 3.
I think Gil would tell you it was Fire
Yeah.
District. He says it every time he gets a microphone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and they all came from a necessity, and most of them came over 100 years ago when, at that time, that neighborhood saw a need for fire protection.
Mm-hmm. And they started as volunteer,
All of them, yeah.
right?
Right.
But again, you had a different world back then, right?
Yeah.
So people generally worked very close to home and things like that too. So if there was a fire, they had the ability to quickly leave work and get there. When I first moved to Hamilton, my job was 45 minutes away. If I was a volunteer firefighter, I wouldn't have been good to anybody.
Right.
You know?
And people are working 2 or 3 jobs right now.
Yeah.
They're trying to put groceries on the table.
Yeah.
And while volunteering is important, they just don't have the time for it.
So talk a little bit about, did either one of you volunteer first?
I did.
All right. Both. All right. So kind of what went into your volunteer experience? Did that entail, you were a full firefighter or you just showed up when the bell rang? I mean, what did that entail that way?
So when I started, we carried pagers, and when the pager went off, we went to the firehouse. And that, 4 or 5 of us would show up, and we'd get an engine on the road, and then 4 or 5 of us turned into 2 or 3 of us, but I made a lot of good friends when I started, and a lot of guys who are currently working for Hamilton now that I all started with. Some of my biggest mentors came from the volunteer fire service.
Do you have a pager too?
No, I did not. We at District 3, I actually had to. There was no responding from home. You had to be there. So as a volunteer, I got to hang out with the career guys, and they really kind of showed me the ropes and kind of made me even more passionate towards the job. Sitting there for 6-7 hours at a time, waiting for the bell to go off, and sometimes I would go there on my days off, and we want to go on 1 run, and sometimes we would go on 10. But there was no just responding from home. I think that was kind of part of the problem with the volunteer side is people responding in their vehicles and then getting in accidents and the liability with that. So District 3 kind of stopped that. If you wanted to volunteer, you hung out with the career guys and you acted as if you were one of the paid guys. And that's how it should be. It's a professional service, and whether you're paid or not paid, people expect the same service. And the fires are only getting bigger, and they're growing even faster. And when people call 911, they expect you to be there in a timely manner now. So some of that stuff from back in the day, responding to the firehouse, is just
We were also doing it when I started at Hamilton. We were probably doing 300 calls a year.
Yeah, there's a lot
now
more.
we're well above that.
I think it's over 5,000 now as a unified department, something like that, if I remember. But
Yeah, close.
we're going to take a short break. When we come back, I really want to now focus a little bit about on the union and the FMBA, right? What that means to you guys as the presidents, what it kind of stands for, but also what are some of the things it does outside the actual day-to-day of the fire service. So when we come back, we'll continue talking with Brandon and Shane.
Capital Health's primary care network continues to grow, bringing its extensive option of locations to your neighborhood. Whether you're scheduling a wellness checkup or not feeling well, advanced medicine starts with a Capital Health primary care doctor at locations near you in Mercer, Bucks, and Burlington counties. To find a Capital Health primary care location that's convenient for you, visit capitalmedicalgroup.org. That's capitalmedicalgroup.org. Merrill Reese, here to tell you about my good friends at Haldeman Ford-Subaru on Route 33 in Hamilton Township. For outstanding sales and service, you can depend on the folks at Haldeman Ford-Subaru for the best value on new and pre-owned Ford cars, trucks, and SUVs, along with a great selection of value-priced new and pre-owned Subarus. And no one offers the service that Haldeman does in their huge, state-of-the-art service facility. Service so great that many area municipalities and commercial fleets get their service performed by Haldeman Ford-Subaru. From Langhorne to Princeton, folks like you to commercial fleets trust the name Haldeman for sales and service. Haldeman Ford-Subaru, Route 33 in Hamilton Township.
Hi, this is Mercer County Prosecutor Angelo Honor-Free, and I'm proud to help sponsor today's show and promote what's happening in our community. All residents of your hometown should stay involved and participate in community activities, whether it's volunteering to help make your town clean, or volunteering at the animal shelter, or helping at a local youth event. Staying involved in your community makes your hometown a great place to live. This is Mercer County Prosecutor Angelo Honor-Free, and I hope you enjoyed today's show.
Well, welcome back to This Month in Hamilton. Want to again start out by thanking our sponsors, Angelo Honor-Free in the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office, Capital Health System, Haldeman Ford-Subaru, Saul Funeral Home, and Kessel Dermatology. So, gentlemen, when we went to break, I was talking about how I want to talk a little bit about FMBA, right? But first, what does FMBA even stand for those?
So that's we're also members of the New Jersey State Firemen's Mutual Benevolent Association, which is our labor organization that deals with a lot of different things, employment-wise, benefits, pay, the whole nine. We negotiate the contract for everybody. Prior to consolidation, we used to do 22 collective bargaining agreements.
Wow.
Now we do 2.
A little easier.
A lot easier.
A little more drawn out, but a little easier. But so you have the state FMBA, right? And then I guess locals that make up the entire state FMBA. Is
Right.
that accurate? Yep. And so you've got one for firefighters and then one for kind of supervisors.
Yes.
Correct.
And one's 84 and one's 284, right?
Yeah, so the supervisors are local 284, and I represent everybody from captain, battalion chief, and deputy chief.
Gotcha.
And then I'm the president for Local 84, and I represent the firefighters.
Gotcha. So you talked a little bit just about, on negotiating and making sure rights are upheld. But there's a whole other side of being part of Hamilton's FMBA, right? And you talked a little bit about Santa already and things like that. But, what are some of the things the FMBA gets involved in?
A number of different things. Santa's huge. That takes our members about 2 weeks to complete. And
months of prep time.
Months of prep time. Driving Santa around every night and every weekend for 2 weeks, getting members motivated to do that. It takes a lot of people. This year we were lucky enough that the PBA got involved along with Public Works and Water Pollution Control. But that is a huge process, and it takes forever. I mean, you saw it. You did it.
I did have the opportunity to see it, but it's got, for the people who do it, it's got to motivate them a little bit to see the smiles. And
and that's why we do it.
Yeah. People dancing and jumping, and I had the opportunity to witness it this year, and there's nothing like seeing somebody come outside in their underwear when it's 30 degrees outside on a December night, right? Just because they're so excited to see Santa Claus. But you got a sporting event coming up with the PBA as well, right?
Well, we were supposed to play hockey a couple of weeks ago, and that was, I think, for Joey's Little Angels.
Yes.
And now we have a softball game coming up. The soccer game a couple of months ago, huge success.
Yeah, very big.
But we pick a charitable organization for every function that we do, so we can raise money for different charities throughout Hamilton. We do the burn camp, which takes burn survivors, kids, and brings them to a camp so that they can hang out with people who have scars like them. So we send money to them every year. and local organizations, schools, PTAs,
Community events.
community
Yeah,
events,
yeah.
Rock the Block that the township does.
Yep.
We support any local charitable organization that could use our help, and
Yeah, it
And-
means
and-
a lot to us to give
and-
back to the community.
And that's the thing, right? When, especially for the new guys that are just hired, they have to live in Hamilton at the time of their hire. So they're part of the community, right?
Mhm.
If they have
Right.
kids, they're going to school and they're involved in the PTA and seeing how kids get benefited that way, right? So it's that big encompassing view of it all.
Hmm.
we get a lot of support from the community. No matter what we do, if we're selling T-shirts,
Mm-hmm.
The
which we do
breast-
for
The
breast cancer.
shirts.
We raised a lot of money last year
Yeah,
in
donate.
October for breast cancer awareness.
And donated to Robert Wood Hamilton Cancer Center and kept it local for our community. And it's just kind of, we're part of the community and we like giving back and, it's just helping out in general. Kind of like the fire service. We just kind of like helping out the community, making it a better place.
I talked a little earlier, right? We had a meeting yesterday with the Groveville-Yardville Memorial Day Parade, but the FMBA since last year, the union specifically since last year now runs the Nottingham Memorial Day Parade.
Yeah, so last year was the first year of that, and this year, it'll happen again.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to hope to make it a little better every year, hopefully. Last year was the first time we've ever really kind of taken over running a parade, so we're hoping to get the hiccups, correct some of the hiccups and make it even better this year.
But you've got people who are part of the union, right? Who, especially that one was one used to be run by volunteers, but people who were involved in it and like carrying on that tradition themselves, right?
Yeah, so Deputy Chief Ritzalis spearheaded it when it was under the Nottingham.
Yep.
And now he does it for us. So it actually saves us a lot of headaches. But yeah, it's just continuing that tradition of that parade every year. And every year we do hope to make it bigger and better.
Yeah, and for him, right? You talk about that tradition and a way of inspiring again the next generation of seeing what's done. But so many people don't know the parades that we have in town are put on by private organizations, right? So there's a St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee. Most people just again assume it's the township. It's not. It's really the parade committee. The township just kind of does the ancillary benefits of it. Same with the Groveville-Yardville Parade Committee, and now the FMBA with the Nottingham Memorial Day Parade Committee, right?
Yeah, it's our members' money that we're spending to put that parade on. Because I didn't realize this before last year. You have to hire bands.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that goes into
Insurance,
it.
right?
Insurance. It's not just showing up on parade day and seeing who
Just
comes.
walking, right?
Yeah.
And
There's a
then
lot that
still
goes
set
into
up
it.
with the town for to make sure the roads are blocked off and there's enough police officers. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, which I was not aware of. So.
Public Works has to come by with their street sweepers and clean up any
Yeah.
candy that wasn't grabbed by kids as it gets thrown around, right? So it's a big ordeal. But when you see again the smiling faces, right?
Yeah.
Especially hopefully the kid doesn't get hit in an eye with a lollipop or something like that. It warms your heart that way too. And hopefully it doesn't rain or isn't 90 degrees when you're walking down Nottingham Way either.
Right.
But that's a lot, right?
Oh, it's a lot.
And you got 135 members. I know you talked about there's 136 uniform, but the chief technically isn't part of the FMBA that way. But it takes everybody contributing something at some point, right? But talk a little bit about why you guys wanted to run for president, or you're taking on an additional responsibility than what a lot of your other members have that way too.
Yeah, I can say I enjoy the work of the union, not just the charitable work, but the work of protecting our members' benefits and rights. I've done it for a long time. I was president of the Firemen's Association, actually when you were running for council. And I did that for, I think, 4 years before I got promoted. I sat on the sideline for a little bit and then returned as president of the Fire Officers Association. But,
It's a commitment, right?
It's a commitment, and it takes we were talking about that on the way over here, actually, that, between this today, tomorrow we have contract negotiations. The mulch is never going to get put down at my house, and my wife's going to start to get angry. But these things, without the work of me, Brandon, but the vast majority of our executive board, none of this is possible. The charitable work, a guy calls us with a healthcare issue or something, somebody needs to answer that phone.
Sure.
So
Or when I call you guys with an
Oh,
issue
yeah.
too. I don't just call you when you're on shift, right? If
Right.
something happens, you had a member got burned a week or so ago, right? Besides the chief, you guys were some of my first call. How's he doing? What does he need?
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff too, right? It doesn't. You never know when it can get turned on either.
yeah, and then it could be 10 o'clock at night or 3 in the morning. It's you know, it's a,
Yeah, it never stops. And I would love to be able to spearhead everything, but at some point you have to realize that you need help with some of these things. And so, you know, running a Memorial Day parade, well, I can't just spearhead that myself. So we typically try to set up committees or even like Shane said, Chief Ritalis was a great asset. He was able to help us out with that last year. So,
but even St. Patty's Day is a big for the fire service. It's huge, and this year we sold almost 700 shirts.
Wow.
yeah.
Brandon and I did absolutely none of that. But we have guys like Mike Hodnicki, Matt Tyndall, and some of the other guys who spearhead that and
Are passionate about it, right?
about it.
Same thing. Shout out to Rich Cummings with the Santa Claus.
Yeah.
He has a lot of that for the Santa Claus committee.
Something he's very passionate
Very
about.
passionate.
Yes.
about it.
Yeah.
So there's something for everybody.
And that's the benefit when you're, this size too, right? Is different people will have different passions,
Right.
right? And so you can fill a niche. You talked about soccer, right? Not everybody's got to play soccer, but you had a lot of people just coming out to support that were
We
other
had
members.
a lot of people at the soccer game, and the same thing with hockey.
Yeah,
You know,
hockey.
we have a guy who works with us, Jeff Barlow, who, because prior to COVID, we played hockey every year. Jeff Barlow would put on a fundraiser before the fundraiser, and have a party in the parking lot and raise thousands of dollars for different charities. And the same goes for soccer and everything else. There's something for everybody to do.
Yeah. That's the benefit of a larger organization that
Yeah,
way,
we
right?
appreciate all the help from everybody too. So
Yeah.
it makes it a lot easier.
Just as Hamilton's a large town, it gives opportunities for all sorts of things, right? So, not everybody's got an outdoor hockey rink,
Right.
roller hockey rink that you could play on, or in Mercer County Park, right, right next door. You got the indoor ice hockey rink that you guys were slated to play on, and unfortunately we had an officer shot, which delayed that game, right? But otherwise that was going to come up again. So there's something for everybody in a large town, and something for everybody to do in a large organization when they want to contribute back that way too.
Yeah.
But we're going to take our last break, and when we come back, we'll finish up talking with Shane and Brandon. So we'll be back in just a moment.
Hamilton Township in Mercer County is fortunate to have many fine businesses that serve our community. Saul Funeral Home is a fourth-generation family-owned business proud to support our local schools and community. Their compassionate and caring staff is there for you and your family. They'll bring the closure you deserve while also celebrating the life of your loved one. Visit their website at saulfuneralhomes.com. That's saulfuneralhomes.com. Saul Funeral Home at 3795 Nottingham Way, Hamilton Square. Capital Health's primary care network continues to grow, bringing its extensive option of locations to your neighborhood. Whether you're scheduling a wellness checkup or not feeling well, advanced medicine starts with a Capital Health primary care doctor at locations near you in Mercer, Bucks, and Burlington counties. To find a Capital Health primary care location that's convenient for you, visit capitalmedicalgroup.org. That's capitalmedicalgroup.org. Kessel Dermatology in Hamilton Square is an award-winning dermatology practice led by Dr. Daniel Kessel, a board-certified dermatologist. He and his expert staff treat patients of all ages. They offer treatments of all types of skin, hair, and nail conditions, and annual skin cancer screenings, anti-aging treatments, ultraviolet A and B light treatments, skin tightening procedures, Botox, and other treatments that enhance your skin's overall health and appearance. Kessel Dermatology is open Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., Friday, 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. For appointments, call 609-890-2600. That's 609-890-2600. Or visit KesselDermatology.com. They're at 1700 Whitehorse, Hamilton Square Road. Kessel Dermatology. They're good.
Well, welcome back to This Month in Hamilton. I want to again start out by thanking our sponsors, Angela Wanafree in the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office, Capital Health System, Haldeman Ford-Subaru, Saul Funeral Home, and Kessel Dermatology. So we talk a little bit about kids who want to be firefighters, right? And when I was a kid, I remember living up the street from a firehouse. When I would hear the fire alarm go off or the siren start, I'd run to the corner so I could look down the street and see if it was going to pass by and say, "Oh, there's the my." Not to give this away, but my brother called it a fire and then another word that ends with UCK because he couldn't pronounce the TR version of it, right? But my point is that when you're a kid, everything's a fire truck. But I've learned and been educated that not everything is a fire truck, right? So what kind of generic, when I use that term generic fire trucks, right? You guys are in it and there's more details to what's just a fire truck. So when people see a fire truck going down the street, what are the different fire trucks they may be able to see in Hamilton?
So Hamilton has 4 different kinds of, we'll call them fire trucks. An engine is the one that has hose on it. They're the ones that put the fire out. They carry 750 gallons of water, and they show up to your house. They stretch a line off of that, and they take that line in the front door and put the fire out. And then we also have trucks, which that's what they're truck companies. When you say fire truck, that's what we revert to. That's the one with the ladder on it. We were lucky enough to just purchase a new one that'll be here in a couple of years. But yeah, they're the ones that do the searches and throw the ladders, and you'll see them on top of your house cutting a hole in the roof or breaking windows. That's what those guys do. Then we have a squad company who is an engine but it carries hose, but also does the tech rescue part of the fire service, rope rescue and water rescue. And then we have a rescue company that went in service last year, and they do everything from vehicle extrication, swift water, to anything you could think of. They fill in the gaps on the fire ground if we need more manpower on a hand line or somebody else to cut a roof or to do searches. That's what they're there for.
Talk a little bit, right? Generic house fire. I know no 2 house fires are the same, right? Because houses are built different. It could start different places. It could be intentional, unintentional, all sorts of things, right? Response time plays into all of it, right? But a little bit, if you can, of walking us through, you get a call, right? And Brandon, you're generally part of a rescue. Shane, you're generally part of a ladder truck, fire ladder truck, right? When you guys show up, what are some of the things that are going on then?
So, like, just in general, somebody will call 911 and it'll go up to Mercer County Central, and they'll determine the location. And typically in Hamilton, what we'll do is send the closest unit to that emergency. So depending on what the emergency is, there's a certain amount of manpower that's required for each type of emergency.
Depending on how the call comes in, right?
Depending on how it comes in. If it's a medical call, we might only need to send one engine truck and an ambulance. But if it's a house fire, we may need to send 5 engines, 2 ladders, and a rescue truck to make sure that we have the appropriate amount of people and the closest units to get there in a timely manner to be able to mitigate the emergency. So on a typical house fire, we will send in Hamilton almost every unit we have to.
Yeah, we'll send 4 engines, 2 ladders, and a rescue and a chief to every reported fire within Hamilton. And those units are not just the truck itself, but each member has a specific task to accomplish.
Correct.
And that's why the manpower is important. What we've noticed over the last 3 or 4 years is the manpower, whether it be searches, whether it be ventilation. Whitehead Road's a great example of that.
Yep.
That is a once in a lifetime fire. That
Hopefully, right?
Yeah, hopefully, and that I want to say around 125 firemen responded to that. But those 125 people saved the houses on the backside of Aston Pink Boulevard and 6th Avenue.
And the businesses that are right there too.
Right.
I mean, for those who may know, Ed Cray does electric, right? Specifically traffic lights and things like that. I mean, he was practically in tears with me, thanking the firefighters who saved his business, but
Yeah.
not for him, for his employees.
Yeah.
Because if he lost his trucks and equipment and all of that, he'd have to lay off his employees,
Right.
Yeah.
right? So talk a little bit about the Whitehead fire. You had 125 people. Obviously, they weren't all from Hamilton, right?
No, we had mutual aid from all over the place. Trenton, Lawrence, Ewing, Heightstown, East Windsor, Robbinsville. I think we had people from Bucks County,
Yeah. Yeah.
people
Burlington
from Burlington County.
Hunterdon County.
It was
all over.
Yeah, it was.
It was huge.
Plainsboro, I know, showed up. There was a lot of firemen from. It was a multi-jurisdictional operation, which took a lot of work, not only by our Battalion Chief Pierce did a wonderful job in the beginning.
Amazing job, yeah.
And once that escalated, we were able to get help from other municipalities.
And we haven't talked a little bit about consolidation, but that one specifically brought out some of the benefits of consolidation, because running all those fire trucks takes gasoline and diesel.
Yes.
Yep.
And you don't just want to leave the scene to
go
go to
fill
your
up.
local gas station or to the township's gas station, right? So you had public works people that actually came in the middle of the night to continually bring diesel fuel out to the fire trucks that needed them too.
Right.
Yeah, that
And they
was
were
huge.
continuously running for.
Yeah.
I don't think the fire went out for over a week.
Yeah. We had trucks there for over a week at some point.
And they require fuel. So getting the fuel truck there, getting food to the people who are operating there. I was there for over 30 hours on the original, and you don't realize it on a day-to-day basis of what a normal house fire takes us 2 hours, and we're back at the firehouse cleaning up and ready for the next one. We had, I know you had called our deputy chief, and we recalled personnel back to work to backfill some of these guys who were just dog tired.
Yeah, because Whitehead Road's going on doesn't mean there's still not other emergencies in Hamilton.
There was a house fire that very same week too.
Correct.
Yeah, the next
I think
day.
The very next day there was another house fire, and so we still had units tied up on Whitehead Road, but luckily we were able to call back some extra personnel, and then there was another fire the next day. So I think that's kind of important also is. Just because there's one emergency doesn't mean that the 911 phone stopped ringing. There's constantly other emergencies going on that we have to be prepared for also.
Now, talking a little bit about other emergencies, right? So we talked fires, but I remember it was either 21 or 22 with Hurricane Ida, and you had people go out to Hopewell with boats.
We did, which is a great example of why we need to protect Hamilton as well. We sent a truck company out to Hopewell who rescued two trapped police officers who were literally hanging in a tree and shooting their guns so people could find them.
Yeah.
Our Hamilton Township is a well-trained organization with skills that some other municipalities do not have. So our members went out there, led by Captain Kiernan, and rescued those two officers who were in distress. But in the meantime, in the same exact location of the Whitehead Road fire, we had two individuals trapped on the roof of their car and holding onto a street sign. Brandon at Kelly Montesano took a boat out there after they had just up the street rescued another family and saved those. That guy couldn't thank us enough because he was clinging to dear life, literally.
Yeah, it was close.
So
luckily, you actually went over there to check up to see if there was any cars in the water because they were screaming. No cell phones, and for some reason, Shane was able to hear a faint scream in the background, and he was able to get a light over there and saw that there was two people about to get swept away right behind the Whitehead.
That would have
road
taken
fire.
them down the Aspen Pink
Oh, that
into the
would've been
Delaware,
it,
and that would have been it,
That
right?
would've been bad. No, so.
And fortunately or unfortunately, I've had some experience now with the Swiftwater training that you guys do. It'll be a story for another day as part of the radio show, but it certainly gave me a personal appreciation, right, for the training and the complexity of some of the other jobs that the fire department's called on that way. And that's something that started even in the districts, right? Not all the districts did it, but some of them did some of the Swiftwater training and things like that. But it's carried on, obviously, till today, too.
yeah, and we're continuing down a path of doing a lot of different things. Swift water being one of them, vehicle extrication we do on a daily basis, but high angle rescue, a lot confined space, these things that we're trying to continue into the future.
And let's be honest, what happens is if there's an emergency, somebody calls 911, and if nobody knows how to handle it, they call the fire department. And we're forced to kind of try to figure it out, and so we try to stay prepared with, up-and-coming problems so we could try to combat them if we're ever called upon them. Like one of the big things now is solar panels and
Electric vehicle batteries,
EV
right?
cars, and so there's tons of things that could potentially happen at any given time that we try to stay trained for, and so we could try to combat these issues. But you just never know what the next thing's going to be.
When you get a call for electric vehicle batteries, commercial grade on Christmas morning, right? You got to figure it out a little bit too.
Yes, yeah.
And 6 hours later, you're still putting water on them.
Yep.
Because there's no way to put it out.
Right.
And obviously, want to give a lot of credit to the first chief, Chief Richard Kramer, right, and now the current chief, Chris Tozzi, right. But you've got a great person in Deputy Chief Steve Kramer, now heading up the training division, right? And you
And
talked
Captain
about
Bernie Kramer, along with Chief Kramer, doing a phenomenal job now.
you talked about hitting the books as part of the academy. There's continual learning that has to happen, right?
Yeah, hundreds and hundreds of hours of training to stay fresh on these things, and it kind of goes back to like with Swift Water. I can't expect to train on it once in my life and think that I'm going to be able to swim in the middle of a river or a swift water. So we got to stay up on this, or just some of the other emergencies like natural gas leaks. Like who would have ever thought, 30, 40 years ago that the fire departments would have to head up every time there's a natural gas leak, and so we have to, stay up to date with. Reading our meters and things like that to understand, how to mitigate some of these emergencies.
I remember coming home a few months ago, right, and seeing a fire truck outside my neighbor's house and walking down the street, and they'd called in because they smelled gas in their house, right?
It's a big,
and there wasn't anybody else. Again, who do you call?
And your neighbor had over 100 parts per million in his house.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And they're elderly, right? So they needed to be taken care of and make sure they were protected because, once you get to a certain age, those things can hit you harder. So we've only got a minute or two left. Really want to thank you guys. Anything else you want to just talk about real quick? Otherwise, we're going to wrap up here. But
the one thing I will say is visit our Facebook page and our Instagram page. We put out information daily. Not only test announcements, but fundraisers and a lot of other things.
I think you guys hit social media more than we do as the township, and I got people getting paid to
There's no doubt we do.
Do communications professionally. But really want to thank you guys for not just what you do for Hamilton, but being part of the show today and make sure people get an education, right, about what our firefighters here in Hamilton are doing, what their union is doing to contribute back through their members, right, and make Hamilton really, again, America's favorite hometown, which I know you guys are committed to as well. So thank you for joining us again this month in Hamilton. Want to again thank WBCB 1490 AM for allowing us each and every month to bring you what's going on this month in Hamilton, as well as our sponsors. Angelo Onifree in the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office, Capital Health System, Haldeman Ford-Subaru, Saul Funeral Home, and Kessel Dermatology. And with that, we will see you in April.